This is a good a good summary of what has happened so far this year with Bitcoin after a rate hike. So you see on March 16th, very tame, 25 basis points, right? Bitcoin dropped by 3.31%, and then there was a big pump afterwards. So it dropped immediately, and then it went up. Then May 4th, 50 basis points predicted, actual change. Then you had a 3.57 pump, then followed by a big dump. Okay, so we got fooled there, a fake out. And then in June, it was forecasted 50 basis points. We got 75. Then we had almost a 6% drop. Then we had a 12% pump. And then we had a bigger drop after that. So a couple fake outs there. And then July, we had 75 basis points. And then we had close to a 7% pump. And then there's just a continuation afterwards, right? And of course, we've seen volatility since then, but still. So what does this mean overall? It means that we can't really predict what's happening. So looking back at our previous 4 rate hikes for this year, we had some that dropped immediately, then pumped. We had some that pumped immediately and then dropped. And then we had one where it pumped and just kept going. So what's going to happen today? If we're going to mirror, let's say July 27th, we're going to get 75 basis points. Maybe we're going to mirror that volatility where we get 7% pump and then we just continue on. I like to think so. And we don't have to guess because it's coming in a couple hours, roughly about 4 hours, 4.5 hours, or 5 hours, I should say, roughly 5 hours. We will know. We will know. All right. What else is going on? Well, a couple other things. This is looking at Bitcoin's realized price. So right now, Bitcoin is below its realized price. And whenever that happens, that's a pretty good time to be buying. And it shows how oversold Bitcoin is. So that is also a pretty good bullish indicator. People just want something better, which is why people turn to Bitcoin. So good thing that Bitcoin is still being gobbled up. We see that 3.12 billion in Bitcoin bought in the last 24 hours because more and more people recognize that Bitcoin is just something better, that something that we can depend on, that we can't just artificially inflate and do all this, apply all this policy to it. It's governed by code. It's already done, and it's the safest network and most secure network we have today also. So a lot of the metrics that show Bitcoin's strength and fundamentals have not changed. Addresses sending to exchanges reached a 14-month low. Like right now, who would want to be selling? First of all, the price is down, so it's not smart to be selling. But second of all, as more and more people learn about Bitcoin, they're going to refuse to sell, like me, because this is the better way, better asset. And then, of course, you have metrics like this, 0.1 Bitcoins and 1 Bitcoin, right? All going up, skyrocketing, all-time highs, right? More and more people are turning to Bitcoin, and not only turning to Bitcoin, but holding longer. Supply lasts active 5 years, meaning that number of Bitcoin out there not touched in 5 years continues to go high, about 25%. These are all fantastic stuff that's happening right now. Despite the weaker price, despite all the headwinds, more and more people are turning to Bitcoin. That's what I want to see. Also, Ford warns investors of an extra $1 billion in supply chain costs. $1 billion. That's just one manufacturer. What about all the other manufacturers? I mean, look at Ford today. Absolutely getting clobbered because of this announcement, right? It's because they can't sell enough cars, and because the supply chain issues is still ongoing, right? So one of the reasons people may be wondering, or one of the questions people may have about this whole inflation thing is like, why can't we curb inflation? It's because supply chain issues still is ongoing, right? When manufacturers, they have like millions of cars just sitting on the lots that they can't sell because they don't have a certain chip to be able to make their cars operational, there's nothing they could do about it, right? And stuff like this drives prices higher because the demand is still there. So until the demand is gone, well, then price will stay high, right? And that's what Powell is trying to do. But if you smash the demand too much, then that's not good either. All right, anyways, so yeah, there's that. Overall, not looking good, but does that mean I'm turning bearish? No, I'll never turn bearish on Bitcoin because all this proves why we need to all be in Bitcoin. All this that's happening right now, right? All this rate hikes, inflation, improper management of money, of rates, of everything, of debt, right? Everything pinpoints that we need something better. We need something that the people do not have to fear. Do not have to fear about, quantitative tightening or easing or fund rates going up and inflation being affected and all this stuff, right? That's why we need to turn to Bitcoin and stick with Bitcoin. So despite the fact there's a lot of headwinds right now, despite the fact that Bitcoin can't seem to gain any momentum right now, but not all is lost. And that is why more and more people turn to Bitcoin. The supply is still decreasing. With every halving event, the number of Bitcoin being released is decreasing. And the circulating supply is also decreasing because of the holders and because of newcomers in this space that are just fed up with what's going on, right? And here's an encouraging chart. Supply last active 5+ years. Well, around 25%. 25%, a quarter of the overall supply right now has not moved in 5 years. And that number keeps growing, and it's growing faster than ever, right? And I don't have the other charts with me, but you look at anything that's measurable with Bitcoin, the number of addresses, the difficulty, the miners, the hash rate, right? Number of addresses holding 0.01 Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin, everything. Supply held 10+ years. All these on-chain metrics show that Bitcoin is growing and stronger than ever. The only exception is the price, but we know price lags when it comes to Bitcoin, and eventually it catches up, and that's when we will all get rewarded. So don't give up on Bitcoin despite all the negative headwinds that we're facing right now. All right. Something else that's interesting, take it with a grain of salt, but last year, many people started talking about the Wyckoff method. And if you look at what has happened since June till now, and this is actually going June of 2021, not June of this year, but June of 2021 till now, it actually looks like a textbook pattern in terms of how Wyckoff goes, right? So we know that the big whales continue to manipulate the market, right? We know that for their benefit, and they could do so. Recently, I do think a lot of it was happening with Ethereum. But you look at what's going on right now, well, it's almost textbook, right? It looks identical to what a Wyckoff pattern looks like. So take a grain with salt because there's a lot of headwinds out there, but, who knows? Who knows? If this follows through, we could see a good recovery back up to 30,000 by the end of the year. And that's what we want to see. If you're looking to buy Bitcoin and crypto for the first time and you don't know where to get started, head over to CryptosRus.com and click on the best exchange guide. Within, you'll find a list of exchanges that I recommend and some that I use on a daily basis. So if you want to learn more, head over to CryptosRus.com or utilize the links in the description of this video.